Hello everyone, welcome back to another great episode of Raihana's Cuisines. Today we're finally going to be doing our okra curry. I have a recipe of this in Gujarati, the video in Gujarati, and I've had a lot of people say that please make it in English. So here we go. I'm going to be making this video and then also follow up on the curried mini puris that I'm going to be making also that accompanies the okra curry. So let's get started. I want to show you what we're going to use for this recipe, and then I'm also going to be giving you some pointers on okra itself. So okra it's got three names from what I know. It's okra, gumbo, and ladyfingers. So I've got okras right here. What I have done, I have 3 cups of okra. What I have done is I washed the okras, I cut them up, I put them on a clean towel, and I've left them for about 2-3 hours. This is going to minimize the amount of the slime that comes in the okra. All right, so let me just finish all the ingredients and then I'll come back to the okras. I've got a cup of chopped onions here. I've got some fresh coriander that we're going to use for garnishing only. 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. In my other recipe, I had added 2 cups of fresh diced tomatoes, but I'm out of that, so we're going to be using half a can of crushed tomatoes. So then for our spices, we're going to be doing 1 to 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger and garlic. I've got 1 teaspoon of lemon or mango powder. I've got 1 teaspoon of coriander. I've got half teaspoon of turmeric. I've got about a teaspoon of lemon juice, which is right there. And then I've got 2 to 3 dried peppers. And then we're going to do salt to taste. And I also have here potatoes that I have washed. And I've got a good amount. I've got about 6 to 7 potatoes that I have washed, skinned, and I have soaked in water so they don't turn brown. So I'm going to put these okras in the fryer. And we're gonna fry these. I usually fry these. You can, if you like, you can also pan fry these, but I actually like them deep fried. So I'm just gonna take the okras and put them in the oil here. And I knew that my oil was very hot, nice and hot, and you want to put it in a good, nice hot oil. Otherwise, if you put it in cold oil, you're going to have very soggy okras and they're going to soak up a lot of oil. So just make sure that your oil is nice and hot. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about okras. And I'm also going to tell you how I found out to pick the right okras, which I never knew. And I have not mentioned this in my Gujarati video because I didn't know. So, when I went to get this over the weekend, I saw this old lady who was picking these okras, and I kept the 2 here to show you how she did it. And I watched as I was picking my okras. I watched her, and what she was doing is she was feeling the okras like this. Okay, so she didn't speak much English, but all she told me was no good. Okay, because you can't take the tips off. Now on this one, did you hear that? And did you see how that just came off? This is how you can tell that this okra is not going to be one of those that are hard to eat, and sometimes you get the okras which are really hard and wild type of thing. This is how you can tell, and I'm so fortunate that this grandma showed me how to do that. I'm just so happy that and then the son kind of said that she doesn't speak English, but I said thank her so much for me that she taught me something. So I'm just gonna cut this real quick and put that in the oil so I don't waste that. And the other one I am not going to use just because it's not good. So I'm just going to throw that one out. So that's just a little pointer of basically how to pick a good okra. Okras are very healthy for you. Deep frying is not, but okras itself are healthy for you. They've got vitamin A, vitamin B12, vitamin C. They're very high in fiber. and the list goes on. They are also very, very similar to kiwis, and that was something that I found was, oh my God, wow, really, I learned something new. Although they're not as high in some of the vitamins as kiwi, but for some reason they share some properties of kiwis, so you might want to Google that. So I'm going to go ahead, finish frying these up, and then I'm going to fry my potatoes. When we come back, I'm going to show you how we're going to put this curry together. My okra and my potatoes fried up. It's right here. It's all done. I just didn't think that you guys would want to see the whole clip of it frying. So I'm going to turn my stove on. I've got another pan going here. And to this, what I'm going to do is the oil that I used to fry the okra and the potatoes, I'm just going to take about a tablespoon of that. It's nice and hot. I'm just going to take about a tablespoon and use that just because it's nice and hot. Okay. To that, we're going to go ahead and add our 1 cup of onions in there. And we want to fry up the onions just until it's nice and translucent. Increase the heat here. And I know some people add onion powder, but there's really nothing like fresh onions and the amazing health properties that the onions have. So while the onions are frying up, I also did forget to point out one thing, is when you're using fresh okra, you can control the sliminess that you want in the curry. When you're using frozen okras, you really can't do anything about it. What happens with the frozen okras is that they basically are frozen, and when you defrost them, they will have a water content in there, and so they'll be wet. And if okras are wet, they will be much more slimier. So some people like the curry with a lot of slime in it. If that's how you like it, actually I like it like that, but if you really like it like that, buy the frozen okras that are freshly cut. But if you have kids and who really don't like the sliminess of the okras, then just prepare it the way I told you in the beginning, where you have to wash it, cut it, put it on a towel and let it dry, and then do whatever you want with it. That way you'll be able to control the amount of sliminess in the okras. And even if you're making like a gumbo, or if you're making anything that requires you to use okras, use the same technique. That way you're gonna have a really nice slimeless curry, if that makes any sense. All right, so we're just gonna wait just a little bit until the onions go more translucent. But in the meantime, I'm going to add my dried red peppers in there. I'm also going to add the ginger and garlic, and the reason I'm doing that is because I really want to extract the flavors out of the ginger and garlic. I did forget to mention that I'm going to be using some Anaheim peppers in here. The only reason that I use the Anaheim peppers is because I can't have very spicy foods. My stomach just doesn't agree with it. And if you're used to eating very, very hot foods, I would substitute that with either Scotch bonnet peppers or jalapeños, or if you really like it very, very spicy, go ahead and add habaneros, whatever you want, or you can even add green chutney in it. Okay, so and it just smells unbelievable right now. Smells so good. All right, now I'm just going to add the tomato paste in here. The reason why I'm adding the tomato paste right now is because I want to cook my tomato paste down. If you are following my videos, you know that I always like to cook my tomato paste because I don't like the raw taste of the tomato paste in my foods. So I like to cook it down. And in the meantime, two things are happening. We're frying the tomato paste, and we're also letting the onions soften up even more. So now this curry is not going to take long at all, just because we're using the crushed tomatoes. This is going to be very quick that it's going to be done. If you're using the fresh tomatoes, this is where you're going to need to cover it and cook it for another maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes so that the tomatoes become really nice and soft. All right. can see that that has cooked up. I can mix everything together now. Add the crushed tomatoes, and I'll tell you exactly how much I added. I'm adding half the can here, and the whole can is 15 ounces. So we've got 7.5 ounces of crushed tomatoes in here. We're just gonna cook that down just a little bit. Now you know that our okras and potatoes are cooked completely. So this is why I'm just cooking up all these other ingredients before we add the two to the curry. So now we're going to go ahead and add our mango powder in here, coriander powder, turmeric, and our lime juice. Give that a good stir. Okay. Now we add the last two ingredients, which is the okra and the potatoes. Okay. I'm also going to add some salt. If you want, you can also add some cayenne if you want in it. I'm not going to. Make sure and give it a taste test to make sure that it's perfect. Last thing you want to do is serve something that you haven't tried and you don't know what the taste is, and it's completely tasteless. Okay? So at this point, I'm just going to add very, very little water in it because it's thick. It's just very little. You don't have to, but just because we use the crushed tomatoes, I just have to just add just a little bit. I'm gonna put this on medium. I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna let it cook for another 5 minutes just to make sure that the okras get really nice and soft. So I'm gonna cover this and wait for 5 minutes. And just make sure that your heat is not on high because you're gonna burn it. So make sure that it's on there for about 5 minutes if you're using crushed tomatoes. If you're using fresh tomatoes, you're gonna need to put it on the stove for a good 15-20 minutes. So I'm gonna clean this place up and get ready to show you how we're gonna serve this curry. So our curry is all done. Oh gosh, it smells so good in here. All right, so I'm just gonna empty that in my plate here. And for garnish, we're just gonna garnish that with a little bit of fresh coriander, and it's all done. Now for the taste test, you're gonna have to wait and watch the puree video because I'm not gonna eat that without the puris, and the puris are the best part of this okra curry. So make sure you watch that video because I'm gonna be doing a taste test on there. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Raihana's Cuisines. Hope you can join me here next time with another great video. See you then, friends.